Hi, my name is Linda Cirulli-Burton, and welcome to this channel named Above the Battleground ACIM. So what I've been finding out lately is that many of my presentations are based on something that may have happened to me over the course of the week. And the good thing about it is that it compels me to do a deep dive into A Course in Miracles to understand and maybe make some sense of it, and whatever to do but to remove the blockages around my heart. And that's what happened this week, and it all has to do with having a sense of humor. Okay, so Above the Battleground is based on the teachings of a spiritual self-study path known as A Course in Miracles. I've been a student of A Course in Miracles for a very long time, but it's really been over the last couple of years that I became newly devoted to my spiritual path, and the videos that my nephew Christian posts up there for me, edits and posts up for me, is part of the process of the message going in deeper within me, and of course, hopefully being of some benefit to you. In order to prepare for this video, I did a little nosing around looking for definitions. And in Wikipedia, for those of you who are biologically oriented, this will make a great deal of sense. Laughter is a pleasant physical reaction and emotion consisting usually of rhythmical, often audible contraction of the diaphragm and other parts of the respiratory system. It is a response to certain external or internal stimuli. Now, the Oxford Dictionary says that it is to show emotion with a chuckle or explosive vocal sound. Genesis 21, verse 16 says, "Laughter is a response to God's tremendous love and grace that he showers on us." I like that. Now, Genesis also contains the story of Abraham. So what I want to share with you now is a frightful situation that occurred to me upon the dawning of my 50th year. And when I turned 50, I was really taking it hard. Honest to gosh, I just felt old. Very, very, very old. And nothing was bringing me peace of mind. So I remember the moment when I ran into my office in my house and yelled and said, "You have to help me. I feel terrible." Then I did a random. I pulled a book off of the bookshelf, and it was a book about angels. And in it, it said, Abraham's wife Sarah, old and barren. Thank you. You certainly do have a sense of humor, God. Let me read that again. When I pulled the book off the shelf, this is where my eyes fell. Abraham's wife Sarah, old and barren. Okay, that's helping me a lot. So I decided that I would look this up in the Bible. I had an everyday Bible. Let's look up the story of Sarah and Abraham. And this is what I found. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. And Sarah said, "God has made me laugh. Everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. No one thought that I would be able to have Abraham's child, and I have given Abraham a son while he is old." And I do believe that the name Isaac means laughter. So that was the moment when I knew that there was a big old sense of humor out there, and that the big old sense of humor was helping me not to take me so seriously. And I have to tell you, it really worked. I ended up laughing. I almost couldn't believe that this had happened. And then, of course, I turned 50 and I didn't even care. And I'm not going to lie to you. Now I'm, at this moment, 23 and a half years, practically, past that moment in time. And I still don't care. So this past week, I got in a very loud fight with a friend of mine. And, you should not talk about politics, but we did. And my goodness, the roof was coming off our apartment building. So it got so loud and so noxious. Like I think I remember him saying something about my third eye was completely closed. And of course, I had to say, and yours has been closed for decades. I mean, it was truly bizarre. To the point where his fiance came out on the porch of their apartment, which is up on the third floor, and was yelling down, "Stop, stop." And of course, we had to go on for a while longer. So what I wanted to tell you is that I know that I'm not a spring chicken. And this friend of mine is in his early 40s. But I think if you were watching us, you would have thought our ages were anywhere between 5 and 13. 15 would have been pushing it. Trust me on this. So my initial reaction to all of this was true annoyance. He was the guilty one. He was at fault. Then, as I pulled in my projection, then the guilt went on me. Okay? It went on me. Now, I have mentioned before how it's been important to me to go on the bench above the battleground and to look at these episodes with Jesus, with the unconditional, non-judgmental Jesus. Just look at my transgression, my guilt. So anyway, I'm up there and I'm looking at this with Jesus. And this won't be the first time that Jesus does something like this. I look at him, he looks at me, and he goes, all I have to tell you is that by the next day, I just got it. I thought the whole thing was so funny. I couldn't stop laughing. And what was ironic was that I got it while I was driving behind the wheel of my car. I got it and I laughed and laughed and laughed. So at which time I wrote out an index card and put it on the window pane of his car. And hopefully he has a sense of humor about it now too. But I know that I do. So it's another episode of not taking myself seriously. And every time you don't take your ego and your ego world seriously, you're unplugging. You're unplugging from it. Now, in the glossary index for A Course in Miracles, published by the Foundation for A Course in Miracles, the definition of laughter is this: the Course asks us not to take the ego and its world seriously, for this makes them real in our minds. Rather, we are urged to laugh, and the glossary says gently, but in parentheses, I would also add, or loudly, at the ego thought system and all its seeming consequences, remembering at last to laugh at the tiny mad idea. The tiny mad idea that we ever could have left our Father, even though we think we did. We never left our Father. So I want to say that I really don't think I'm there yet, but I have to say that a lot of us do consider cancer to have just awful, damaging, horrific. I mean, I could use all the words. And of course, I watched my husband for 7.5 years before he passed. And I can even remember in that case, I remember I had an open house, friends, family could come and go and see him. This was after I took him out of hospice, and they said that he probably only had a few days. So people were visiting en masse, and a couple of his best friends went down the hall together and into the room. And then they came out and they're walking down the hall crying. But then they get to the living room and they say to me, "Do you know what that guy just said to me?" I said, he said, "Why are you crying? I haven't died yet." And then in the telling, they ended up, laughing. My friend Brian, and I did a video about him being falsely accused. I did it a few weeks ago. My friend Brian had cancer many, many years ago. And over the course from the point of time where he apparently didn't have the cancer, he read and practiced A Course in Miracles, practiced everything beautiful. And the cancer, I have just learned, came back to him, and it's in every part of his body. So he's called in hospice, and we just exchanged a couple of texts over this past week. And Brian, I really don't even know how to describe Brian. He was this big, grizzly guy coming in from driving in from a small rural community and just lighting up the room. And I told him, I said, I used to love sitting across from you just because he beamed light, he just beamed so much light. So anyway, I told him I had that opportunity to share that with him. And he thanked me, texting me, of course, thanked me for the kind words and said that he was getting ready for graduation, hee-haw. And I said, "Brian, I know that the diploma is telling you that you're going home to the Father that you never really left." And Brian texted me and said, "I know what you mean. I am so blessed." And I thought, here, two men being attacked by cancer and still finding a way to have a sense of humor, Now, A Course in Miracles, I found this and I thought that this was really interesting. And it was from chapter 11. And it said, "Children perceive frightening ghosts and monsters and dragons, and they are terrified. Yet if they ask someone they trust for the meaning of what they perceive and are willing to let their own interpretations go in favor of reality, their fear goes with them. When a child is helped to translate his ghost into a curtain, his monster into a shadow, and his dragon into a dream, he is no longer afraid and laughs happily at his own fear. You, my child, are afraid of your brothers and of your father and of yourself, but you are merely deceived in them. Ask what they are of the teacher of reality, and hearing his answer, you too will laugh at your fears and replace them with peace." And A Course in Miracles, of course, is truly non-dualistic and will say to us that this life in this 3D world, this life in this ego world of sin, guilt, and fear and punishment and all kinds of really sad things, is illusory. It's illusory. And I have to say that every time we laugh with a laughter that is pure and kind and doesn't take life in these bodies so seriously, I think in that moment we are removing the blocks to the awareness of love. That's all we're doing. We're moving the blocks and we're peeling off of the illusion and running straight into our Father's arms. So thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to sharing more.